Tesla taking the biggest hit, down 6%. That's not the only potential headache for Elon Musk. Leaders in Canada are going after his ventures specifically. They're not even just targeting Tesla.
Nor I asked for these tariffs. In fact, I was surprised when they were announced. Tesla competes quite well in the market in China with no tariffs and no differential support. In general, I'm in favor of no tariffs. I'm also actually in favor of no tax incentives.
Donald Trump just threw another grenade into global trade, and this time, Canada isn't just taking the hit, it's firing back. The U.S. has long relied on its northern neighbor for everything from steel to cars, but Trump's latest move, a staggering 100% tariff on Canadian-made vehicles and metals, has sent shockwaves through the industry. And Canada? It's hitting back where it hurts the most. Elon Musk's Tesla. The electric vehicle giant is now at the center of an all-out trade war, and if Canada follows through with its retaliation, Tesla could be looking at a $50 billion disaster. And if you think that's shocking, wait until you see the whole deal in today's video.
Today, Trump confirmed that 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada will go into effect at midnight tonight, just a couple hours from now. And as you know, that won't just hurt them, it will hurt you, the American consumer. And that fear was reflected in the market today, with the Dow closing down nearly 650 points, thanks in part to this.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect tomorrow?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Last year alone, trade between Canada and USA hit an eye-watering $900 billion, with Canada supplying $350 billion worth of goods to its southern neighbor. But now, their relationship is seriously under attack.
Breaking news coming in. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking right now after the U.S. slapped Canada with 25% tariffs. Let's listen.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down.
Trump's 100% tariff on Canadian-built cars and metals isn't just a small policy shift, it's a direct economic assault. The U.S. buys over 2 million Canadian-made vehicles every year, not to mention massive amounts of steel and aluminum. Industries that have thrived on smooth, borderless trade are now facing chaos, uncertainty, and massive financial losses. And here's where things go completely off the rails. Canada isn't backing down.
Want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country.
A senior Canadian official didn't mince words. If he wants a fight, he'll get one. Instead of sitting back and taking the hit, Canada is targeting Tesla, one of America's most valuable companies, and the way they're doing it, a brutal 100% tariff on every Tesla vehicle sold in Canada. Tesla isn't just another car company, it's a symbol of American innovation and a leader in the global electric vehicle EV revolution. But beyond that, Tesla needs Canada more than most people realize. Last year alone, over 500 zero Tesla vehicles were sold in Canada, fueled by generous government incentives and a growing EV market. Canada is one of the world's top suppliers of lithium and nickel, two critical materials for EV batteries, and Tesla has already locked in key supply agreements with Canadian mining companies. Even Elon Musk himself has acknowledged that Canada is a game changer for Tesla's supply chain. But now, that very advantage could turn into a massive liability, especially considering Canada's ruthless move.
Very interesting. I saw a tweet just came in from Elon Musk, who's using our wonderful space facilities and did a great job 3 weeks ago. He said, for example, an American car going to China pays 25% import duty, but a Chinese car coming to the United States only pays 2.5%, a tenfold difference. So an American car going to China, think of that, pays 25% import duty. So we send our...
If Canada slaps a 100% tariff on Teslas, the consequences would be devastating for the company. A $50,000 Model Y would suddenly cost $100,000, pricing most Canadians out of the market overnight. Tesla's expansion into Canada would collapse, forcing the company to pull back on investments in the region. And here's where things get even worse. Canada could also cut off Tesla's access to its critical battery metals. One Canadian official made their stance crystal clear. Tax our cars? Fine. We'll cut off your battery metals and sell them elsewhere. Maybe to Europe, maybe to China.
Targeted to create the maximum pressure on the White House to stop what the Wall Street Journal has described quite rightly as the dumbest trade war in history. An example of a measure that I will put in place as Prime Minister is 100% tariffs on Teslas. I think that should get some attention in the White House. And, you know, Jen, I think people, Americans, you know, I don't think you think about Canada all that much. But I think when you do think about Canada, you might think, oh, they're smaller than us. Is this really something I should be worried about? Well, the stock market is worried. Shares have gone down, and this has been a terrible year for U.S. stocks already because of these tariff threats. And the reality is, you guys need us. We are your largest market by far. The U.S. sells more to Canada than to China, Japan.
And this is where everything changes. If Tesla loses access to Canadian nickel, lithium, and cobalt, its entire battery production strategy could be thrown into chaos. It would be forced to source from less stable suppliers, driving up production costs, delaying deliveries, and crippling its North American operations. But after everything's been happening, it's fair to ask, could Canada really push away the tech giant?
Tax program at some point, so that if China is going to charge us 25%, or if India is going to charge us 75%, and we charge them nothing, if they're at 50, or they're at 75, or they're at 25, we're going to be at those same numbers. It's called reciprocal. It's a mirror tax. So they charge us 50, we charge them 50. Right now, they'll charge us 50, we charge them nothing. Doesn't work.
On the surface, it sounds risky. The U.S. isn't just Canada's biggest trading partner, it's also the most convenient. The two countries share a 5,500-mile border, making trade fast, efficient, and cost-efficient. But here's something most people completely miss. Canada already has a backup plan. Back in 2017, Canada signed a major trade deal with the European Union, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CTA.
CETA has been described as the most ambitious and progressive trade deal ever signed by the EU. The 1,500-page agreement entered into force in September 2017 after 7 years of negotiation, an intense protest campaign, and a threat of veto by the Belgian region of Wallonia. A year and a half after entering into force, what has CETA achieved, and what concerns still remain? CETA has removed virtually all custom duties on goods between Canada and the EU, totaling around $590 million.
This deal has eliminated 98% of tariffs on Canadian goods entering the EU, leading to a 30% jump in exports to Europe. This means Canada isn't trapped. If the US wants to play hardball, Canada can and will pivot to Europe. And the real reason behind this will blow your mind, considering how Europe could be Canada's secret weapon.
He's made it clear that billionaires, we got your back. We're going to make you even richer. That's why Elon Musk endorsed him. He's not endorsing me. I'm going to take on the billionaires. And I wouldn't accept it anyways. But it has shown us who Pierre Poilievre is. We have to make sure that that pain is felt. And so we have to have a strong plan of tariffs, retaliatory tariffs. I've said in addition to that, we need to make it clear that we are going to shut off the flow of critical minerals. We are the only country that can supply critical minerals at this point. And we know that this is a particularly strong leverage point because one of the prominent figures in Trump's administration, Elon Musk, needs those critical minerals for the batteries for his car companies. So let us use everything possible to stop this trade.
While shipping these critical minerals to Europe is more expensive and time-consuming than sending goods to the U.S., Canada already has a strong foothold in the European market. Canadian steel exports to Europe have skyrocketed since CDA took effect. The EU is desperate for battery metals to power its EV industry, and Canada has some of the richest reserves in the world. If the US keeps pushing Canada away, Europe is ready to step in with open arms. And here's where things start getting dangerous. It's what could be Tesla's worst nightmare scenario.
Other elements around technology, not stock-specific news, but he gave us an answer around the tariff side. And don't forget, there's a lot at stake here, right? We've got EVs flooding in from China to various markets. The Americans are pushing back, but Tesla has a lot of operations in China.
Exactly. Just go back to January, Elon Musk made some comments about trade barriers more broadly, and he said that if there were no trade barriers on Chinese EVs, they would demolish the competition. I think that underscored not just his fear, but actually the fear of the broader auto sector in terms of the power, this pace of innovation, but also the price of some of these Chinese electric vehicles. Now, if you fast forward now, we've got these tariffs in place, but as you said,
if Canada shifts its battery metal exports to Europe, Tesla would be forced to look elsewhere, and the options aren't great. Is it China? Too risky. The U.S. has already restricted imports of key battery materials from China due to security concerns. Is it Africa? Very unstable. Countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo supply cobalt, but are plagued by ethical mining concerns. What about Indonesia? Seriously unreliable. Nickel extraction there is environmentally controversial and politically unstable. Simply put, Tesla doesn't have a good backup plan.
Premier Doug Ford, he has ripped up the province's contract with Starlink, worth some 100 million Canadian dollars, adding Ontario won't do business with people hell-bent on destroying our economy. In response, Musk posting on X, oh well, that was just about 30 minutes ago. Now, to put that number in context, it's only about 68 million US dollars, a very small amount for SpaceX, whose revenue is estimated to be in the billions annually. But still a setback for Starlink, which has been embraced by Canadians in more remote locations that do struggle to get cheap, reliable internet access. It's also another instance where we're seeing the flip side of Musk's cozy relationship with the Trump administration.
And this next part changes everything. It's the real $50 billion disaster. A trade war of this magnitude wouldn't just hurt Tesla, it would send ripples through the entire North American auto industry. Canada exports $15 billion in auto parts to the U.S. every year. Mexico builds 3 million cars annually, many using Canadian steel and aluminum. Ford, GM, and Chrysler all rely on cross-border supply chains to keep costs low. If the trade war spirals out of control, the effects will be brutal. A $30,000 SUV could suddenly cost $40,000. Factories in Ohio, Michigan, and Tennessee could face mass layoffs. Even Mexico's auto industry would suffer as supply chains break down. Already, most Canadians are ditching Tesla models.
Alain Roy absolutely loves his Tesla Model Y, but even though it's packed full of high-tech features, the South Shore resident can't stand driving it anymore.
I like the car. It's Musk that I don't like.
Roy has a Tesla, his wife has a Tesla, and he was in the midst of ordering a Cybertruck. But his love affair with the company founded by Elon Musk officially ended on Donald Trump's inauguration day, when Musk delivered the infamous gesture that many described as a Nazi salute.
That Nazi sign, that was too much for me. Too much for me. I mean, I canceled immediately my Cybertruck, and both of my Tesla are absolutely up.
And here's what makes this even crazier. Trump's tariffs aren't just a fight with Canada. They represent a massive shift in global trade. If Canada fully embraces Europe, the U.S. loses a key ally and supplier. If Mexico follows suit, North America's tightly linked economy could unravel. And if Tesla loses access to Canada's resources, its global dominance could crumble.
There's no measurement showing people getting rid of their car because they hate the guy who co-founded the company.
I for sure wanted to stay with electric, but I was not going to get another Tesla.
While EVs are selling faster in Colorado, up 20% from the previous year, Tesla's are not.
As more and more cars come to market through the traditional manufacturers, Tesla's market share is declining rapidly.
Matthew Groves is the president of the Colorado Automobile Dealers Association. They use data from Experian Automotive to track these trends.
They were first to market, right?
He says Tesla's dominated the EV market in the state for years because they were first. In Q4, the rate of new Nissan electric...
Wait till you see what happens next. The stakes have never been higher, and by the end of this, you'll understand why this is so important. Canada isn't bluffing. If Trump keeps pushing, Canada will push back harder. Tesla is caught in the crossfire, and if things don't de-escalate soon, we could be looking at a $50 billion disaster that reshapes the global auto industry. So, is Canada really about to cut Tesla off for good, or is this just a high-stakes power play to make Trump back down? Kindly let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see our latest videos.